Good morning, Dean Kieh. How are you?
I'm well. Good morning, Dr. Christoph.
That's great. Okay, so this morning, I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the Juneteenth holiday celebration, about the freeing of enslaved African American people and that were tragically delayed from being free for 2.5 years. And I would like to ask you a few questions. Um, but first, would you like to introduce yourself? Is there anything you would like to say?
Well, I'm George Kieh, Dean of the Barbara Jordan Michelin School of Public Affairs here at Texas Southern University. And I'm quite delighted to be participating in the Juneteenth national holiday that celebrates the freeing of those who were enslaved, African Americans, that is, who were enslaved in the United States. It represents and epitomizes how emancipation was tragically delayed for enslaved people in the deepest reaches of the Confederacy.
Thank you for that. And I'd like to add that Dean Kieh is the one that has spearheaded this event. He's the dean of the School of Public Affairs, and he appointed me as the chairperson. But he is ultimately the one that has actually driven this whole event. So I want to acknowledge him for that and thank him for his vision. So
Well,
now,
thank you, Dr. Christoph. You've been too kind. You've done your person's work on this, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
well, thank you, and you're quite welcome. So I'd like to ask you a few questions. The first question is, what what did Juneteenth mean to you growing up as a child?
Well, as you know, I was born and raised in Liberia, although I was partly raised in the U.S. as well. But by the time I came to the United States, as I was out for graduate school, I was an adult. I had completed undergraduate school already. But I grew up as a political activist. So although I was not born in the United States, but my activism, particularly my passion for the cause of liberation for all peoples, particularly people of African descent, uh, kept me informed of the ongoing civil rights struggles in the United States. So even before I set my feet on American soil about 41 years ago, I was already familiar with the very, I will argue, the most wicked and evil system devised by the human mind, slavery, and its all of its negative implications for African Americans in this country. So I was already quite familiar with the struggle, and when I got here, got involved in it, particularly through community and other kinds of work in the Chicago area.
Okay, thank you. So you came to the United States and was in the Chicago area. So as an adult, coming to the United States and becoming more, closer to Juneteenth celebration, as an adult, what has it meant to you?
Well, as an adult, Juneteenth represents a couple of things. I mean, the liberation of people of African descent, of course, is the overarching one. But that liberation itself, to me, reflects a couple of things. One is that it wouldn't have been possible if our forebears were not united. So the lesson of unity is one that resonates even today. That is very, very important in any struggle, particularly struggle for emancipation and freedom. The second is coalition building, because as we know, why people of African descent were at the forefront of the fight for liberation and emancipation because we were the enslaved. Uh, there were also people of other races who were involved in joining us in that fight, who were valuable allies. So the second lesson for me from Juneteenth is the importance of coalition building. The third is resistance. Juneteenth teaches not just me, but all of us, that freedom does not come on a silver platter. And those who establish, operate, and maintain systems of oppression don't give up freedom. They got to be forced to relinquish or forced to end whatever the vicious system of oppression is. And throughout the history of the struggle against slavery and the civil rights movement, that spirit of resistance was quite evident. So that was for me the third lesson. The fourth and final lesson is resilience. Again, the lesson from Juneteenth is that struggles for freedom are not linear. You know, they are fraught with challenges and progress. And when you make progress, you build on the progress. When you encounter roadblocks and setbacks, you rethink, you re-strategize, and you keep moving forward. And all of those lessons, in my mind, are still as valuable today as they were during slavery, although the context might have changed. But as we know, as has been correctly characterized even by President Biden, we are in the era of Jim Crow 2.0.
Absolutely. So now that we have the national holiday, what does Juneteenth mean to you as a national holiday?
Well, the national holiday is an important recognition. I mean, it was long coming. I want to thank Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and all of those who fought quite valiantly to make this a national holiday, and President Biden for signing it into law, and all those who supported it. You know, as it said, better late than never. It should have happened long ago, but you know, we'll take it nonetheless. And my hope is that while we celebrate the victory of freedom and liberation that Juneteenth represents, we don't rest on our laurels, because while the context might have changed, yes, we no longer have legalized slavery and legalized discrimination and its associated legalized discrimination, but we have institutionalized racism. So racism that has taken, I will argue, a much more pernicious form. You know, so we got to rethink, we got to re-strategize in terms of how do we deal with the new forms of, I would say, new forms of slavery, because institutionalized racism is clearly a reflection of that. Voter suppression, preventing voters' access, economic injustice, environmental degradation, all of those issues require that we learn some of the lessons that I outlined earlier of unity and coalition building and resistance and resilience that our forebears so valiantly demonstrated in the struggles against slavery. We need to relearn those lessons, retool, calibrate them in terms of the current context, and continue to struggle. So yes, I'm going to join you and others and celebrate this coming weekend, but with an eye on the fact that the struggle continues.
Yes. And would you like to say a little bit about the Texas Southern University Barbara Jordan McClellan School of Public Affairs inaugural launch of the Juneteenth statewide website and calendar that is now coming into being and celebrated this weekend?
Well, yeah, as Dr. Christoph said, this is the inaugural program. I believe she gave me too much credit. I mean, you know, she and I discussed the idea, and I thought it was a great one. And as always, I put that on her plate, and she was able to, we're able to put a committee together of very fine colleagues, and she's provided outstanding leadership with those on the Juneteenth committee in organizing our inaugural program, which will be the beginning of an annual event that we hope to expand. We want to include other historically Black colleges and universities in particular, so that our students, the younger generation, to whom, the torch will be handed, can have an understanding of what Juneteenth means. So there's going to be a website for Juneteenth, a permanent website with all sorts of information, including calendar of events, uh, historical and other kinds of relevant materials, and opportunities for groups, including businesses, community organizations, that may want to advertise. That clearly will be a good venue for you to do that as well.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you, Dean Kieh, for taking out time and sharing with us your thoughts concerning Juneteenth and the launching of the website. We really appreciate your time, and go Tigers.
The struggle continues. Thank you, Dr. Crystal.
Continues. Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day.
You do the same.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.